That officer unfortunately went to the wrong location initially. As it related to that wellness check, it was not the right house. He spent about 10 minutes doing what he thought was appropriate. Had it been the right house, knocking on the door, going around to the backyard, doing all the things that you would do in an effort to try to reach out to the family or to anyone that may have been in that home.
But for some reason, their exact address spiked November 1st, 2025, over 100 times. Somebody was Googling. Right behind his head is the same sensor you see on Zillow. I decided to look very deeply at their wedding video, okay, and some pictures, because I decided to put myself in the mind frame of the person who did this and how they stalked them and how they possibly got away and entered the house. I'm going to show you every little detail that a lot of people probably missed, even the media, just by looking at pictures, Googling them, and figuring out how to maybe even get inside and maybe even what time. Stay tuned. Fugitive TV. Welcome to Fugitive TV. I'm your host, Ray Marcel, where we take a look at cases of unsolved mysteries, people that go missing. And what I try and do is I look at the case from a different perspective. My perspective is a little different than everybody else because I was once a fugitive on the run from the law myself. I lived in different countries under different names, and I did this for 15 years before I turned myself in. And now I own a couple businesses. I'm doing really good in life. I'm successful if you ask me. Not to that point yet, but I'm doing all right. And now what I'm doing is I'm motivating other people that hey, if I can do it, you can do it. And not only just that, I'm using the skills and the knowledge that I have gained in my experience, okay, to help other people out and maybe to see little loopholes that other people are not seeing that I had to pay attention to when I was doing what I was doing, all right? If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe and share. If you're returning, thank you so much. You have made my channel one of the fastest growing channels, especially in true crime on YouTube. I mean, I think I've got almost 15K subs in the last 7 months or 8 months. It's been ridiculous. Thank you so much. What we're going to talk about is Spencer and Monique Tepe. Now, I know I did a few videos on them earlier. I did the video when it first happened. I reported on them. My last video. Oh, and then I did the video on who the suspects could have been. And I brought up, the ex-husband. I brought up all kind of things, all right? And the last video I did, I showed you the guy, the suspects that was walking through the alley. And I showed you how probably he got away through the alley and maybe how he left. Well, I decided to take this a little further and deeper. I decided to think like the suspect, okay? Now, my crimes, okay, when I was in trouble, I didn't unalive anybody. I wasn't physically hurting anybody. The honest God truth, what I did was I started a car ring. I started one of the state's biggest car rings where I was at. And we were taking cars from dealerships, and the dealerships are actually in on it. All right. But because of what I was doing and because I was on the run for so long, and not only that, getting locked up, going to prison and jail, I had to experience of being around people and learning from these individuals because I would literally live with them in cells of who did things like this. So I got to learn how they think. I got to learn how their perspective on life is, and I got to see and I guess learn some techniques that they would do. All right. And I decided to put myself in the situation if I was the suspect. If I was going to do something like this guy did to Spencer and Monique, what would I do? Well, you know what? I came across some things thinking this way. For one, all right, I would want to lay out and map out how I'm going to get into the house. All right, that's one. How many exits are in the house? All right, front door, back door. That's established already. You know why? You know how I know without even going there? Google. You Google the address, Zillow pops up. You see the front door and the back door. Now, what if I told you not just the front door and the back door, not just the garage? Zillow provides some crucial information that I think a lot of people missed. It provides some crucial information if you are trying to either break into somebody's home or trying to do what this guy did. For example, if you Zillowed a home, it shows it's got a security system. It shows it's got keypad on the front door. It shows it also has a keypad on the back door. When I see those two keypads, I'm like, hold on. I know how those keypads work. You know why? I have a keypad in this house I'm living in right now. My house has a keypad. Okay. It also shows sensors inside of the house, meaning that if the alarm is activated, you walk by the sensor, the alarm triggers. Okay. I'm going to show you guys all this, what I saw. All right. So, the one thing I decided to do was I decided to look at if I was the one that was going to do this, how would I plan this out and what would I do? The first thing I would do is I would map out the location. If I know I'm going to enter the person's home or the victim's home, I need to find out if they have security in the home. I need to find out if they do, what kind of security, if they have weapons, all kind of things is what I need to find out before I enter the home. I need to find out their habits, everything, right? So I know I showed this house on Zillow, I think like the first time, but I never really went through it. This time I decided to look through the house because for some reason they'd said that it spiked on Zillow beforehand, before they were unalive. Well, I decided to look this time. One of the first things I noticed right here is on the side wall. This looks like this could be an alarm system or a module to control your AC and heat. So we know we have the deadbolt, or I should say the code padlock. This is for the front of the house. You see, that's the front right there. But if you look up here up top, you notice up top right here, that right there is a sensor, people. That's a sensor. That is part of the home alarm system. So I have one in my house. I also have pretty much the same keypad. Okay. All this is hooked up to the same alarm system. Here we go again. Here is a control panel. There's two of them. Okay. Two control panels. Is there a closer look at this? Let's see. Two control panels. Okay. And my control panels almost look the same. One controls my AC and heat, and the other one controls my alarm. Okay. So the smaller one right here, I have, except only difference is mine's upstairs, but it controls the AC and heat. And then this one controls my alarm. I can disarm my alarm. I can turn it on. So I decided to look a little further. This right here looks like it's still the front of the house, right? The living room. Once again, front of the house because you have the keypad and then you have the alarm system. Now I'm looking all around these window sills right here to see if I can spot any um they're like magnets kind of. I forgot the term for it, but they're on your window sills and people open your window, it'll sound the alarm when your alarm is active. Now, I can't see any from the pictures, but that does not mean that they don't have any, okay? So I'm going through the pictures. I saw that, right? I'm like, all right, here's the alarm box and control unit again, right there. And I'm still looking, I'm still looking. Now, usually the upstairs windows and upstairs units, usually they don't have this, okay? Most of the time they don't. Wait, let's back up. Think I just spotted something. Hold on. Let's back up real quick. I don't know what that is, but that could just be the paint's off. So this is what I would do. I would look at all the window sills. Now, this is the basement window. Okay. Usually basement windows, where I'm at, we don't have basements, but I know basement windows usually have them because they're easier to get into. This is a big window to slide through. There's a window right here as well. So let's keep looking. Look where I found right here in the corner of the basement. Another sensor. That's a sensor right there, people. In the corner. Like I said, I have the exact same sensors in my house. So looking at this, I knew that they have an alarm system. Now look on the back door. That is a keypad. Same thing as the front. There was speculation. Did they have a keypad on the back? Did they have one on the front? Well, now we know they have one on the back. New home builds, townhomes, a lot of them come with this already built and installed. My house has it built and installed already. They have floodlights, looks like right here. I'm not sure that's a camera. Okay. I'm not too sure. But these are floodlights. Okay. So this might be sensored activated, meaning if somebody jumps this fence, the lights are going to cut on. So if the guy did jump the fence, the lights might have cut on. And for you guys that don't have, let's say, home security control units, or you're watching this and maybe you live in an apartment, or maybe you never seen one, this right here is what the control units could look like. Okay, just depending on make, model, and everything else. But as you see, they do come in different sizes and shapes. As I scroll down, but most of them are going to have a screen on them, especially newer models. That's a touch screen, and you can control it from there. It just all depends. Now, here is the home security alarm sensors, okay? As you see, these can look different too, okay? Now, we saw some in the corner. The ones in the corner that look new, that look like they just got installed, could be these. And we saw ones that came with the house already. The ones that came with the house looked more like this style. All right. So I'm showing you guys this just in case you've never seen one or you don't know what it is. Because I've had some people ask me, hey, what is that? And I had to show them, these are actually sensors. And most of these come with the house. Now, remember, I told you, I said that there's also ones that you put on your windows. There's one that you put on your doors. Just in case the door slides open, they can, it'll tell you if the door slides open or not, pretty much. Now, if you look at this right here, see these little squares? These usually go on your windows. It's almost like, the best way to describe it is almost like two magnets. Okay, one goes on the frame, one actually goes on the or it maybe goes on the window where you slide the window up or slide it to the side. Once those two magnets separate, it activates the alarm. All right. So just as for you people that don't know exactly, or have never even seen one. There's some people out there that's never seen these before. I also read from news reports that Spencer and Monique's wedding video spiked the numbers for some reason right before it all happened. Do you guys know why that video spiked the numbers right before it all happened? I didn't really think about it at first until I was looking at the pictures on Zillow. Then I was like, oh, I got it. The wedding was inside of the house, meaning that whole video, what is it, 15, 10 minutes long? I forgot. You guys tell me. I didn't watch it before. I didn't. I just watched it before I made this video. So, however long that video is, the whole entire video is pretty much inside that house. in the backyard, in the alley, and in the front of the house. All you got to do is watch that video, and you can get some crucial pieces of evidence and knowledge if you plan on doing something. I'm going to show you what I saw in that video. Exactly. Just by paying attention and looking at the details, what I saw, w- that would help me in my advantage if I was going to do something. All right. Let's take a look at that. Now, here's the wedding video, okay? I'm not showing the whole video. I'm just showing you some like still frames from it. I never really went and watched the wedding video. But since I decided, hey, if I was going to be the person who did this, I need to know everything about them. So if there's a video online about them, I need to watch this video. And not only that, the wedding shows pretty much their entire home. I can get a good layout of their home just by watching this video. Not only that, I went onto Zillow already, right? And we all seen the alarm. I need to see in the video if I can find the same alarm system and if they either added sensors or took them down. Well, look in the video right here. You see that? Right behind his head is the same sensor you see on Zillow. Now, in the corner, if you can see in the corner, it looks like there's something else that's added. I don't know if that's an extra sensor. I don't know what that is, but they added something else right there in the corner. So that tells me right there that they still have it installed. Here's another still shot of that same sensor. It's a little more closer now, but it's blurred out, but it's that same sensor. Here's another still frame. If you look right above his head in the corner, you see it in the corner? That also could be an alarm sensor. Okay. Now, people, do you see what I see in this? Do you see the control units? Do you see how one shows a blue light and one shows a white light? That is most likely the alarm control unit, okay? And then you have the AC unit. The only difference is they added something. Look what's in the middle. There is a middle unit that's added. Now, going through these clips, I am seeing more sensors than I have seen before. Think about it. We looked at the Zillow pictures, right? Of the already installed sensor units. But now in this video I'm watching, it looks like they added more security. I'm not sure what type of control unit that is in the middle, but that is a control unit. Now, as you guys see, I broke that down. There's sensors in the house. It looked like he even installed either more sensors or a different type of security. I'm not sure, but that house had security. Okay. It had the Ring doorbell in the front. It had the code lock in the front, and it had the code lock in the back. All right. It had sensors inside of the house, and you could see the sensors in the corner. Now you're not dodging these sensors. It's not like a movie where a red beam shows. Some of these movies are they're the jewelry thief is stealing jewels out of the safe, and they got to dodge the red lights, the red invisible beams. That's the movies. This is a little different. All right. Now, I'm not saying the sensors can't be dodged or can't be, manipulated. I'm not saying that. And I'm not going to tell you guys how it can be manipulated, but it can be. All right. But the fact is, if I'm doing this, I know that house is alarmed. So I know if I go into that house and I don't know the key code, I don't know the code to the alarm, I don't know any of that stuff, they are going to be awakened to the alarm. And not only that, the crucial thing that happens when the alarm goes off? It happens at my house because I got an alarm. I got the ring, I got all that. I got the sensors, I got it on the doors, the windows. And if you cross it, it's not just going to activate the alarm in the house, it's going to activate the alarm to the headquarters, the people who actually, control the alarm system. And what they're going to do is they're going to call your phone. If they can't get a hold of you, excuse me, they automatically send the police out automatically. So this man, whoever did this, knows this. Now that we established there's an alarm in there, okay? Their security system is inside that house. We all know there's a keypad on the front and back door. I just showed you that, okay, on the house. Now look at this, because my alarm works the same way. Remember, we were talking about if somebody knows the key code, or the code to the keypad, I should say. All you got to do is Google, okay? It says a home alarm keypad is designed so that entering the correct code disarms the system and prevents the alarm from sounding when the door opens, while an incorrect code or opening the door while armed will trigger the alarm, often with a delay or immediately depending on the settings. If someone knows the code and uses it, the system recognizes the authorized user and stays quiet. If the code is wrong or the system is armed and the door opens out without disarming, the alarm sounds. So, if this person, this guy, knew the code to the door, because we're all talking about the front and the back, okay? They both have the same key code, okay? Um, or pin code, whatever you want to call it for the lock. If he knows the code and he hits that code in, it disarms. Depending on how they had the settings on their alarm system, it could disarm the alarm system. And that's why no alarm went off. All right. Another thing is, if Spencer did not arm the alarm system for some reason that night, or disarmed it for some reason that night. Okay. For example, on my alarm system, I can put in the code, I can disarm it, or I can arm it. Arm it is usually when you're going to sleep or when you're leaving the house. All right. That's usually when you arm your security. All right. A lot of times when you're inside the house already, you disarm it because you're going in and out, whatever it is. And then if it goes out and it starts beeping and you don't hit the code in time, it'll start alerting authorities and authorities at your house. All right. Well, that just makes me wonder, and it probably makes you wonder too. Did Spencer arm the code that night before he went to sleep? Was it on? Or did the guy know the code, which we're all talking about? Which, if he did, which would make sense, because this guy was searching the home, searching Zillow, and looking at the video, probably, and I'm guarantee you, looking at the same exact thing I was just looking at. How to get in that house. What's the alarm system look like? What's the code system look like? It's not hard to figure out somebody's code either. I'm not going to tell you guys how, but it's not hard. Okay. But that's just questions. These alarm systems can also run off the internet. So I'm pretty sure they had Wi Fi in there, right? Now, everybody's talking about cell phone. Did the guy have a cell phone to ping, things like that? There's routers inside of your house, right? You know, those routers are like computers. You know, those routers store things. Think about it. When you have your cell phone, pick up your cell phone right now. Look at your Wi Fi. Your cell phone's going to store every single Wi-Fi that you connected to. Okay, it might even keep McDonald's Wi-Fi saved in your phone. It's- Routers work the same way in somebody's house. If you go over your friend's house and you hook up to their Wi-Fi, that router is going to store your cell phone's information in their router, their Wi-Fi system. All right. Some routers, even if you don't hook up to it, even if you don't, some routers will still pick up your cell phone and keep it stored in the router for a certain amount of days. It just all depends on the system. It just depends on everything. So that's one evidence I bet you law is looking at. Hopefully they're looking at that. Hopefully they don't need me to tell them to look at the router. Okay. So that brings this question. If that's the case, then what else were they probably looking at? I'm going to show you. So if you go on Google Trends and you type in the address, okay? Because this person had to be searching for the address on Zillow, probably on YouTube, just Google searching. But for some reason, their exact address spiked November 1st, 2025, over 100 times. Somebody was Googling, okay? It could be 1,000 times. But if you look, See the straight line? Nobody searched it at all. Nobody searched it for the last, this is the last 90 days from today. So from October 10th, nobody searched it all the way until, for some reason, November 1st. Then it sat flat line. Then they searched it again 74 times on November 11th. Then it's flat line. Nobody searched anything at all. Okay. Until the same day everything happened. Okay. Now look, you see at the end, that's when everything happened. Now everybody and their mom's trying to figure out where they live, search, and everything else. But for some reason, somebody searched the address November 11th and November 1st. This right here tells me somebody was planning on doing this for a while now. They were just trying to wait for the right opportunity. They were waiting for something, but somebody had this plan. This was not a spare of the moment thing. Then if you look down here, most of it's coming from Mississippi. Why is it coming from Mississippi? Does that mean whoever was searching the address is from Mississippi? Does that mean that? It can. But if they're using a VPN, meaning it blocks their IP address and bounces it off to a different country, city, or state, they could be doing that too. Now, I also looked at their address. Let's say you put in a street address, but you didn't put in the state. Let's say you just put in the street. Last 90 days, okay? Now you see these red lines, that's kind of like them searching for Ohio, okay? Or the zip code, but not the actual like street number. But pay attention to the blue. It's flatline from October 10th all the way to November 24th, and then flatline again. Okay? Till Christmas Eve, over 100 times. Then you have a little bit of a flatline until the 30th when it all happened. So why was somebody searching on Christmas Eve? You go to Spencer. Remember I told you that somebody searched the address November 11th? Well, on November 11th, his name was also searched. Then it's flatlined all the way up until everything happened. So why is that? Because I'm thinking whoever did this did it on purpose. They're searching, trying to get more information on these individuals, or I should say individual, because I searched Monique. Monique, nobody searched for her. She doesn't even pop up. Okay. But Spencer pops up and the address. So just by looking at this tells me somebody either had it for Spencer, Spencer was the target, Spencer owed somebody something. Something was going on in Spencer's private life that nobody knew about. But what was it? And not only that, it had to be bad enough for somebody to be searching this, you know, a month and a half before everything happened. Almost 2 months.
Oh, 100%. This was a targeted, without a doubt, because of just all the factors that we've laid out over the past couple of weeks of, no forced entry, where they were killed in their house, the children being, not harmed, and the dog. Someone seeming to know the layout of the neighborhood and the house and the timing of it as well. I truly believe this was someone they knew from either the past or something presently happened to set this horrible set of circumstances in motion.
Right. No, absolutely. So if you look at Google Trends, it's always very interesting to evaluate when people and places are being Googled in and around. So, for instance, really quickly in the Brian Koberger, I looked at that 5-week period before there was a suspect name, and you could see Brian Koberger's name before anybody knew it being Googled over and over and over again, which I think were done by Brian Koberger. In this case, you look at a flat line of this dentist, Dr. Tepe, nothing except for on November 30th. And then you see a huge spike in review of his account.
So for some reason, their address on Google spiked for a certain amount of days. Okay, November 1st. The other one was November 11th. Okay, just spiked out of nowhere. Why? Why? And not only that, when you look into it, a lot of it was coming from Mississippi. Now, like I said earlier, does it mean they were in Mississippi? No, not necessarily, because they could be using a VPN. A VPN is when you block your IP address, and what happens is internet pretty much thinks you're in Mississippi, but you're really not. You could be 2 houses down, but you're using a VPN, all right, to block it. A lot of people do it. It's very common. So that doesn't mean that they were in Mississippi. It just means that, they could be just using VPN. We don't know. We don't know. But still, we have proof that their address spiked. His name, Spencer Tepe, spiked. Why was somebody looking for him all of a sudden? Not only that, the address too spiked Christmas Eve. Why? Why did the address spike on Christmas Eve? Now, you might say to yourself, I tried to think of all theories. Maybe they had parties. Maybe they had parties. Okay? People are using Google to try to find a house. First of all, if people are using Google to find a house, then those people shouldn't even be invited. That means they weren't friends, because usually your friends will have the address. You send them the address. Doesn't mean they have to Google it. Okay. Now, I'm not saying nobody did, but still, 100 more times somebody had to Google that. No, I don't believe that. Now, November 1st was a Saturday. Could have been a party. Okay. They could have Googled it for the party. It was a Saturday. But then the next day is a weekday. I think it was like the 11th, or I'm sorry, Tuesday. Here we go with this Tuesday again. Here we go with another Tuesday. I think November 11th was a Tuesday. All right. So was another party on Tuesday? Was somebody had to Google up their address again? Then on Christmas Eve, somebody Google up their address again a bunch of times. Why is it just those 3 days? Why? Was it somebody maybe going into the house? Was it somebody who's been in this house personally and they've been looking around and seeing everything too? And they had to Google it to remind themselves or something? Was it somebody who's been in this house personally, maybe hired somebody else to do the job and had to tell them about the house? So then that person had to go Google it, like, okay, this is what's going on in this house. And then we look at Monique Tepe's name on Google. Nobody searched her. No, I didn't see no searching until after all this happened. So they searched Spencer, but not Monique. So this leads me to believe if Spencer was being searched, then they were looking for him. He was the target. But why? That's the thing we don't know. Still, why? You know the reason why we really don't know why? When something happens to somebody, okay, law enforcement does this all the time. They do what is called victim profiling. Some people get mad and emotional. Why are you digging into somebody's background and all that? You have to. You have to. When somebody dies from something like this and it becomes a mystery and we're trying to figure out who, why, and when and where, but we don't know the who, we don't know the who, and we don't know the why, we got to dig into the background of the victim. The victim. We have to profile the victim. We have to see what their personal life was into, who their friends were. Sometimes you got to look at their charges. I'll give you an example. Give you an example. A lot of times when, let's say, somebody's just out on the street all the time, let's say for a female, and they're living a nightlife, they're escorting, whatever it is, all right? They're escorting. But we don't know we don't know. And all of a sudden they end up missing, and then their body gets found in the bush somewhere, a lake, whatever it is, right? Their body gets found later on. And we're like, what happened to her? But then you dig in her background and you found out she was an escort. That is a lead right there. Now, yeah, I mean, yeah, she was an escort, which is not good, but it helps to solve what happened. Now we know that she was an escort. She was found abandoned, or like left off on some abandoned street in the middle of the night. Maybe it was one of her clients that did it. Now you can narrow down the search. Same thing with a drug addict. Same thing. If they were heavy into using all the time and something happened with them, and then you do a search and you find, okay, they were heavy users. Who were their friends? Were their friends users too? Because if you're a heavy user, usually you're not hanging around saints. Usually you're not going to church. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but a lot of times you're not. A lot of times, if you're heavily using, you're going to be around other people who are using. So if you find that in the background, okay, they were heavily using. Autopsy shows they OD'd. Where they OD at? This abandoned house. Who was with them? That was probably using too. So you have to victim profile. When it comes to Spencer and Monique, it's hard to victim profile them or profile them. Do you know why? Because they're presented to us as this perfect couple. Every picture the media puts up, it's their wedding pictures. They're smiling. They look happy, like nothing's wrong. The perfect American couple. Every time we hear somebody talk about them, they have nothing but good things to say. Nothing but good things to say. They talk about Spencer great. They talk about Monique great. So it's very hard to victim profile these two to figure out what was wrong in their life or relationship when everybody has something good to say about them. Or every background search you look, everything's good. It's very hard. The only thing we have to do really on them when, let's say, if there was something that was kept secret, is digital evidence. So then now they have to go through phones. They got to go through apps because there's all kind of apps out there. Kick, Tinder, Snapchat, Instagram, WhatsApp. There's all kind of apps that they probably have to go through to see if these apps are on both their phones or one of their phones. Okay. Were they having parties all the time? Who was at their parties? What was their backgrounds like? What type of parties were they having? Were they drug and fueled parties? The brother-in-law said, remember the 911 call with the girl where he said that's not Monique's voice? He said she took an edible. But remember, he backtracked and said, oh, that was a few years ago at another party. So if they're having party with edibles, was there other things involved at this party? Okay. Because you already said that. And if there's other things, what type of other things? Okay. You have to look at all this stuff. You have to. I hate to say it. Were they swingers? Were they inviting thirds into the male or female into the home? You have to be open mind and you have to look at all these things because a lot of couples, when they are, let's say, inviting thirds into the relationship late at night, their friends and family don't know about it. They don't know. Google right now. You can Google right now of how many people have been unalived, okay, because a couple met somebody off Tinder or something like that. I just saw a story 2 days ago, matter of fact, 2 days ago, about a guy who unalived a couple that the couple met him off Tinder. He tried to say that they tried to take advantage of him. No, buddy, no. We don't believe it. But still, and nobody knew the couple was doing this because it's not something you go to work and brag about. Oh, yeah, this is what you don't brag about that stuff. I'm not saying this is what happened, but I'm saying you got to keep an open mind. You got to look at all these things when you're doing these cases. Emotions got to get set to the side. Feelings got to get set to the side. And now you got to start thinking strategic and you got to have an open mind and you have to look at everybody like a suspect, okay? Like how we were all looking at the ex-husband. Remember that? Everybody was looking at the ex-husband. How everybody's looking at the brother-in-law, okay? You got to look at everybody. And you got to figure out why, when, where, and what's the motive. But I figure I bring you guys these things because I didn't see ABC, News, Fox talking about this. Okay? I didn't see them talking about how their addresses spiked. Their names spiked on certain days right before. Very odd. Very odd. But please like, subscribe to the channel, share it, okay? If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Like I said, you've been helping my channel blow up tremendous. All right. Please take care of one another. Watch out for your surroundings. This is Fugitive TV. I'm out.